Welcome everyone to Tech Topics 2022. Our first topic for the year is payment apps, a very topical one, I should say, Tanisha, given that we were just post-holidays. My name is Amanda, and I am here with...
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tanisha.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and get into the program right now. Tanisha, I'm going to turn my camera off. I will be back for the Q&A section.
All right, thank you so much, Amanda. And so before I turn off my camera, I did notice that there are some new names and some new people joining us for Tech Topics. So just as a quick review about what Tech Topics is about, this is a program, a 15-minute long program that is meant to give you a variety of tech topics and just a really short-term format. So these programs are meant to just be a brief overview of a certain subject. So we're just gonna kind of do a quick toe dip into the world of payment apps. And then I'm also going to give you some resources to review later if you want to do a little bit more research and learn a little bit more about them. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and we are going to dive right in. And as we like to do with our virtual programs, we do have a book shout out for you. This book can be found on our online ebook platform, Libby by Overdrive, and it is called Financially Forward. So this book discusses a lot of things that have to do with digital money stuff, how to, budget using digital tools, things like that. So it's just a really good resource if you're looking to kind of standardize, if you're looking to make things a little bit, to meld your financial stuff with some of the techie stuff that's out there today. So let's go ahead and dive right into our subject. So what are payment apps? So I thought that NerdWallet, which is a popular website, had a very good definition that just covered the basis. So mobile payment apps allow you to pay for things and send and receive money without having to enter your card details. So basically what that means is in some cases it acts as an intermediary between your bank and your credit card company and a business or a friend or family that you're trying to pay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about safety and security later. This doesn't mean that it adds an extra layer of safety. It's just another way to pay people. So why should you know about them? So I'm sure that a lot of you guys have heard about payment apps. Some of you may have even utilized payment apps. So I'm going to jump down to the payment app example. So these are probably apps that you've heard about: Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. So these are probably some things that you've heard. You might have heard somebody say, oh, I'll Venmo you later, or let me, use my Apple Pay app to pay for that. So these are probably some terms that you heard about before. So jumping back up to the next one, why should you know about them? Payment apps provide an easy method of sending and receiving money. So like I briefly mentioned before, like if you didn't have cash on you, which is something that I never have cash on me, or if you didn't want to give somebody, do like a direct bank transfer or something like that, it's a very easy way of sending and receiving money. For example, when me and my sister go out to eat, instead of doing the whole split check thing, one of us can pick up the check and then she can send me or I can send her the money for my portion on a payment app instead of, getting cash or splitting the check and all of that. And this is really topical considering everything that we have going on right now. Contactless and cashless payment methods are becoming more common. So, once the pandemic started, a lot of people stopped taking cash. A lot of people were looking for contactless payment options. So, for example, if you use an app like Apple Pay or Google Pay, I'm sure you've seen it if you go to like Publix and like Target and places like that. All you have to do is, if you have that payment app open, is hold your phone, close to the station, and it'll ping the money, for lack of a better phrase, over to ping it over to them. So it's just a contactless way and a cashless way to pay people. So common payment app features. One of the best ones is that it is easy to set up and use. So if you know how to download an app, you know how to use a payment app. So payment apps are very, very intuitive. They do provide step-by-step processes to put your payment information in there. So for example, uploading your bank information, uploading your credit card information, how to pay people, how to request money, stuff like that. So they're very, very easy to use. Most of them are free. Just as a heads up, if you do link a credit card or a debit card, some of them do charge a fee for using that. So of course you would have to check with the specifications of the app to see if that's something that they'll charge you for. So most of them do have free options, but just know that they're not completely free. They may not be free. You have to check the rules and regulations of the app before you use it. You can link a credit card, debit card, or bank account. So you can link an account, and depending on the app, it'll take the money directly out of your account at that time, or it may take a couple of days. It depends on your bank or your credit card company, but you can link your debit card or your bank account. So keep in mind, this is a big one. Keep in mind that every single app is different. So all the different apps have different features. So just really keep that in mind. You can also create a separate online account and deposit and withdraw money from it. So if you didn't want to pay directly out of your credit card or your debit card or your bank account, you are able to put money into a separate online account, depending on the app that you have, and deposit and withdraw money from that. So it kind of creates almost like a third account that you can use to pay people. Also keep in mind, like I mentioned before, that it's not necessarily instantaneous. Depending on your bank or credit card company, it could take a couple of days for those transactions to post. Speaking of that, you can send and receive money instantly. Like I said, most of the time, it really depends on the app that you're using and your bank or credit card company, how that works. You guys probably noticed a big theme of, it depends on the app, it depends on the app. We are going to drop a couple of links for you here in a minute where you are able to compare and contrast the different apps to see which ones work best for you. And this is probably my favorite part of payment apps. You are able to send money to personal contacts and businesses. So one thing you may have noticed nowadays is something I've certainly noticed in my personal life, is that a lot of services that I use, so if I need to get a dress altered, if I need to get my hair braided, a lot of those vendors use payment apps instead of credit or debit cards. So for example, when I go and get my hair braided, there's two payment apps that she uses, or cash. So she doesn't even take credit or debit cards. So you either have to pay with cash or the payment apps. And a lot of vendors are changing over to the payment apps because the payment apps don't charge fees to use them. So for example, if they had a credit card reader, they would be charged a fee every time somebody swiped their credit or debit card. So this is just a way to cut down on fees on their ends. And as I mentioned before about sending money to personal contacts, it's a very easy way to send that money to your personal contacts and to vendors, businesses, like I mentioned. Also, if you go to a lot of craft fairs or a lot of places like flea markets where they have the booths, obviously most people take cash, but a lot of them have started taking like Venmo, Zelle, Cash App. So that's just another way. Like, again, I never have cash on me. I know when I went on vacation a few months ago, a lot of the vendors use payment apps, so I was able to send them money and not have to run to an ATM and get cash. I could just send it to them on my phone. So tips and considerations about all of these apps. So first of all, think about how you intend to use a payment app. So do you intend to use it to pay friends and family? Do you intend to use it as like a third or fourth or a second bank account? So think about how you intend to use the payment app before you download it. Amanda, if you can, go ahead and drop those links that I mentioned before. I have two links for you that give you a chance to compare and contrast the different payment apps that are out there. So if you're thinking about using them, if you want to see the specifications, if you want to look at privacy concerns, these are some really excellent ones there. They're going to be available in the chat section. So you can just click on them and it'll take you directly to the webpage. This is also really important. Research how the app handles accounts and transfers money. So obviously, you always want to know how your money is being handled. So definitely look at the specifications of the apps that you're using and see how it handles accounts. See if it charges for you to link a debit card or a credit card. see how, like, what type of account you need to use it. So definitely take a look at that. Make sure, this is huge. So make sure that when you are using the app, that you are paying the correct person or business. So how you send money in many of these apps is via a phone number, a name, or a username. So you want to make sure that you are paying the correct person, because if you type that name in wrong, if you type that username in wrong, if you type that phone number in wrong, you could send your money to somebody else and you cannot get that money back. So a lot of the apps will, have you double check, like, are you sure you want to send money to this person? When I'm using a payment app and I'm paying somebody new, I always make sure to show them, like, is this your phone number? Is this your username? I always verify, because obviously that person wants their money. So I always verify that I'm sending it to the correct person. So you want to make sure if you're using a payment app that you're sending it to the right person. And of course, I know that I've mentioned this several times in many of my tech topics. Consider the security and privacy of payment apps. You should absolutely treat them like you would your bank account or credit card. Like I mentioned before, you do have, using payment apps as an intermediary does have a certain degree of, security, but using a payment app is no more or less secure than using your bank account information or a credit card or a debit card at a vendor. So treat your payment apps like you would any other banking app, any other payment system that you would use. So, keep that information private, make sure you know about the security and privacy, don't share passwords, et cetera, et cetera. Just make sure that you do that. And like I said before, the same thing as, when you swipe your card or your debit card, you want to make sure that you're paying the right person, you're not being frauded. You just make sure that you treat those payment apps with just the same way you would any type of payment system. So, Amanda, thank you so much for dropping those links for me. Again, they can be found in the chat section of GoToWebinar. So if you're on a desktop or a laptop, the chat section. If you're on a tablet, just tap on the little people icon and you should be able to access it there. All right, Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and jump back on camera so that we can see if there are any questions.
Okay, so I'm also coming back on to read your questions out loud. A good overview, Tanisha, just about the pros and cons of the different service. Now, we do have one to start with. I will remind everybody where your questions section is. If you're on a computer or a laptop, it is in that drop-down menu. It'll be questions. You can submit whatever you want. If you are on a if you're on a phone or tablet, you just, that question mark logo, just tap it. Okay, so our first question is, I think, from a repeat customer, because they have seen us kind of do the screenshots and the sharing, or even demoing some of the apps we've covered in the past. Is there, why aren't we doing that today?
So Amanda, that is an excellent question. So with payment apps, the big issue with demoing them is they require very sensitive information. So for me to show you how to use a payment app, I would be revealing personal information like my bank account information, the information of friends, families, businesses, things that just are very sensitive. So we aren't able to demo them in real time because of the sensitive nature of the information that you're dealing with. That being said, if you are unsure of how to set up a payment app and you're a little bit hesitant of setting this up on your own, I highly recommend enlisting a trusted friend or family member to help you walk that through that process. Because of course, when setting up a payment app, you do have to provide payment information. So like a bank account, a credit card, a debit card number. So you want to make sure that whoever you have helping you set that up is somebody that you can trust with that information.
Right.
Luckily, like I mentioned before, a lot of the apps have help built into them, and a lot of them are very intuitive. So they literally walk you through the process of how to set every single part of it up. So they're very easy to use. It's very easy to set up your information with it. And it's easy to pay and send and receive money from it. I also included, like those links that I included, they also provide a little bit more information about setup. But yes, so that's the reason why we can't demo them, just because, and like to demo how to send and receive money. We would have to pay or get money. So it's just a really hard thing to demo.
It would be. Well, Tanisha, I know you and I both grew up in the time frame where you had 11 high schoolers trying to split a check at like a IHOP or something. So thank goodness for payment apps. It does help that quite a bit as you're paying friends, family, when you're socializing or just paying people back for things. But I think, and this is kind of a comment I'm seeing in this section, you brought up a good point actually, that although they started more as a person to person payment service, you're seeing a lot more businesses go to that model. And that might be a reason to investigate them, just to make sure if there's a business you want to frequent, especially smaller businesses, locally owned businesses, online businesses even are kind of switching to that model as well, even if, instead of hosting a payment form, payment service on their website, having that happen. And that is actually something I think we're going to be seeing more and more.
Yes, a lot of small businesses are switching to payment apps for the reason I mentioned, is that they're pretty low from a business side. They're low in fees. So it's cheaper for them to use that than to use a traditional payment system, especially if they're a smaller business where they don't necessarily need a point of service or something like that to use. So they're definitely becoming more popular.
Well, it looks like that is the end of our questions for today, but tell us when and what our next tech topic will be.
So we will be returning next week, same time, same place. We will be talking about spreadsheets. So this is going to be a comparison of the different spreadsheet softwares that are out there. Of course, we could be here for days if we wanted to go into like how to use them, but just wanted to give you guys your options as far as what spreadsheet system you would want to use.
Sounds good. Different spreadsheets for different uses. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for joining us this afternoon. We hope we will see you next week at our next tech topic. Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody.